Fusion Lesson 14. This one's going to get a little more complex, but try and stick with me. Pause the video as you need. We're going to be going over quite a few advanced features. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our sketch. And I want you to select the bottom plane this time. Use the line tool, and we're just going to randomly draw, well, not randomly, but we're going to draw a simple shape, a little more complex than before, but using features you've already used. Sometimes that little check mark gets in the way. Just go around it. Make sure you use your alignment tool and line up with that last one. Click and hold and connect it up. Alright, so let's go around and look at what features have been constrained. So we're missing a tangent here. So I'm going to throw in a tangent constraint between these two. While we're doing constraints, these two lines should be equal, and they should also be collinear. So we're going to use both of those constraints there. So let's go around and use our dimensional constraints. So D for dimension. Let's give this an overall length of 4 inches. The tab here at the end, we're going to make that 1.25. The distance between these two centers is going to be 2.25, and our radius is going to be 0.5. Alright, now give it the wiggle test here. Make sure everything's still working. And let's take and make our coincident constraint coincident with that. Didn't work that time, so we'll try it. Nope. Coincident. There we go. And then we just need to dimension from here to there, and we want half of our thickness, so half of 1.25, and you could do it as an equation if you want, but half of 1.25 is 0.625 or 5/8. Everything's constrained. E to go directly to extrude. We're going to extrude down, and we're going to go a distance of 0.5. Click OK. So right now we can do a couple things just to clean up this bottom a little bit, and it's going to be more difficult later to do. So let's go ahead and select those corners. We're going to give them a fillet, and our radius for our fillet is going to be 0.25. Click OK. Now this is going to be a new tool, so I'm going to show you where it is in the menu here. Under Construct, this is going to allow you to create your own planes. So in the beginning, when you first create a sketch, you select one of those 3 generic planes, but you can create your own using all of these different ones. So we're going to do an angle plane, and what we want to do is we want to select this back line, and that's going to give us our pivot point, if you will, for our angle plane. So we're going to do 45 degrees. Now, it's hard to tell from this view, but it is pointed the wrong way. So what I want to do is go to the beginning here and change that to negative 45 degrees. So just make sure that it's sloping kind of down off the backside there. Click OK. We're going to create a new sketch, and this time we want to select that new plane that we created. And sometimes this line shows up as geometry that you can use, sometimes it doesn't. So I'll show you how to make sure that it's there. If you go into the Create tab and then Project and Include, you have the Project option. And shortcut key for this is P, so if we use it in the future I'll just be using that. And you want to select that line, click OK. So now we want to grab our line tool, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a arced shape here. If I can get my alignment tool to show up. And if you didn't get the tangents, make sure you put those in. I got my perpendiculars here as well. So we're going to dimension this. We want this to be 0.625. So that way it's the same width as this down here. We need a distance from our center to this bottom line. We're going to make that 1.5. And our we want to make sure that this is lined up. So let's do the collinear constraint and make sure those are lined up. Click Finish Sketch. And we are going to select that. E for extrude. Make sure that it's going the correct direction. And here's another change too. So what we're going to do is, instead of cut, what we want to do is join. And then extent, we're going to click on to object. So now we want to click on what we want it to join to. And it's kind of hard to see on my screen here, but you want to highlight that top surface, and it will automatically project that down until it joins with that surface that we've selected. Click OK. So now we have a couple holes and features. Let's put a slot here at the end. So I'm going to use my sketch tool and select that. And let's go ahead and put in these circles too. So let's go with the circle tool first. And I'm purposefully going to put these off center. And we will dimension them. This is a diameter of 0.5. And we are going to use our constraints to pull the rest of it in. So we want to make sure that these are equal. They need to be the same size. And then we also want to make sure that they're concentric. Oh, that was coincident. Concentric. So if we click there, and there, and there, and there. That brings them concentric, or in the center of this arc that we already created. So now we want to grab our line tool, L for line, and I'm going to zoom in on the end here, and we're going to create a slot. Just make sure that they're perpendicular and tangent as well. We need a length from the end. Oop, sorry, use my line tool. D for dimension. Length from the end. It's going to be a distance of 0.5. We're going to have a radius on this of 0.25. And we want to make sure that it is centered. So from the edge, D for dimension, to there, it's going to be half of our total distance. So you can do 1.25 divided by 2, and it puts it on center. We're going to finish our sketch by hitting E for extrude. And we're going to select all three of those, and we're going to go all, cut, and flip the direction. And there we go. So those features are in. Now we have one more feature to add, and then I'm going to show you another tool as well. So this feature is just going to be a circle, a hole at the angle here. So we're going to use our sketch tool, select that angled surface, circle, and I'm going to purposefully put it off center for now, and we'll use the same constraints as well. So D for dimension, this is 0.75, and concentric with that. Finish sketch, and we are going to extrude this. So E for extrude, select that profile, and let's do to object again. It's not really going to matter. We're going to change it, but I do want to show you a few things. So when you're designing something, it's important to keep in mind how it's going to be manufactured. So one thing that we can do is, under Inspect, we have Section Analysis. And it's going to want us to pick a plane, and the reason why we put our point here in the center is so that we can pick this, and it will automatically section it. What it does is it doesn't actually cut it. It just simulates cutting it in half, so that way you can see what's inside of it. And you can move it around through the part, but we're going to leave it at 0. And if we look at this, this shape is actually impossible to manufacture in any way except for something like 3D printing. So in order to change this to something that is manufacturable, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and find that feature, and we're going to delete it, and I'm going to show you how to put it in a way that can be manufactured. So let's take our extrusion, which is that hole, right click on it and delete it. And if we want to turn off that section analysis here in your browser, if you click on analysis, there's the section view that we created. You can turn that on and off. It's just a visual thing. So we're going to turn that off so that way we have the full part here so that we can create a hole feature. So if we want to create a hole, we're going to, from our create section, we're going to use hole, and we're going to select this surface anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's off center. And you have a couple of different ways to maneuver this. You can grab it, and if it's a round feature, it will snap to the center of that round feature. There's also random points along the way that it will snap to, but typically it's going to try and do that on centers. The other way is you can use references. Okay, there we go. So you can select the surface, and then automatically once you click a reference, you can set a dimension, or you can select an arc and it will automatically make it concentric. So going down through our options here, we want to go a distance and our hole type. We're just going to keep it simple. No threads, no taps, anything like that. And if this was going to be manufactured out of, let's say, metal, they're typically probably going to use a drill bit, and a drill bit has this angle to it. So we want to make sure that we choose that. If it's a feature that can be made with a drill bit, then it should be drawn as if it was drilled. Here you can set your depth, and I believe this was 1.5. And there are specialty drill bits, but most drill bits have a tip angle of 118, and that's what it throws up there, so don't change it. And our diameter is 0.75. Nope, too many decimals. So 0.75. Click OK. And if I turn on my section view again, it shows me that I have that drill point angle at the bottom of the hole. So this is definitely something that can be manufactured now. So I'll go ahead and turn that off. Make sure you take a screenshot and make sure that you save this and submit to Canvas.